Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the Hammer Territory podcast. This is episode 269. I am your host, Brad Rowland, coming to you on a Wednesday evening, and I'm joined, as I often am, by Scott Coleman. Scott, you're back. You're not sleeping still. How are you?
You know, Brad, I was just thinking about this. As bad as this season has been for the Braves, we only have 9 games left for 6 months, 7 months.
Yep.
And even when the Braves are dead in the water, there's still just something special about turning on the TV at night and watching the Braves play, even if they're not playing for a whole lot at this point. It's sad. And I think the realization that the season is over, even if it was far from the season we were hoping they were going to have. In another world, the Braves would have swept the Nationals this week, and we'd be talking about playoff look ahead and who might they play in the first round and can they get the bye and all of those things. And of course, that's not what we're doing tonight. But yeah, man, I mean, 10 days and 9 games left in this season. It's gone by fast, and I think there's always that moment of like, wow, it is definitely over with before we know it.
Yeah, it has gone by fast, and it's a good point that I hadn't thought about a ton today, but it is getting late early for baseball. And you and I like baseball, and we'll watch the playoffs, so like there'll be baseball on still, but it won't be Braves baseball, so it's different for sure. Yeah. We'll get into what happened today. If anybody missed it, and I'm sure people did, I talked to Steven on a show late on Tuesday evening, post-rain delayed doubleheader. That was a late one, maybe a little bit of a delirious episode of the podcast, but please subscribe to Hammer Territory. Listen to that. Check us out anywhere you get your podcasts. We appreciate the support, and we are here 12 months a year, 52 weeks a year, covering the Braves in this space. So check it out and tell your friends about the show. But yeah, and also, here's the weird thing about it. We just talked about the season being over. The Braves are red hot. All of a sudden,
of course,
they've won 5 games in a row. They just swept the Nationals on the road in a 4-game series. The combined score of the 4 games was 31-10. So they not only swept the Nationals, they blasted the Nationals in this series. And the Nationals are bad, so that's worth keeping in mind. Doubleheader weirdness, afternoon getaway day game today, like not the most high intensity baseball series you'll ever see in your life from fan interest standpoint and all that. But I did mention on the show briefly yesterday with Steven, but the Braves are, and you talked about it on Twitter today too, this winning streak basically makes the Braves all but dead for like the top 2 or 3 spots in the lottery. They were like right there on the precipice of being in competition with the Pirates for the number 2 spot in the lottery. That dream is now dead. They can still win the lottery. I mean, they're going to have decent odds to do that. But if you are someone who is monitoring the Tankathon page each and every day, it's been a bad week for you, but a positive week for the Braves. And I've seen a lot of people talking about this, and I think it's fair. Like, even last night, we got some comments. It was like, well, I like when the Braves win. And it's like, you know what? Tough to argue. Like, it is more fun when they win. Like, the vibe's been pretty good this week, even if the games don't matter.
Yeah. So I guess we'll do the quick Tankathon update here. The White Sox, by far and away, are going to be the one. And the Pittsburgh Pirates, who are just god-awful. Like, I have a good friend who's a Pirates fan. And, I mean, I know we complain about things with the Braves, but try being a Pittsburgh Pirates fan for 5 minutes. I mean, our worst days are like sunshine and rainbows for the Pittsburgh Pirates. And then the Minnesota Twins are losing as we talk. So I think the Twins will have a 4-game advantage, maybe 3-game advantage in the loss column on Atlanta. But at the end of the day, short of the Braves going 9-0 over the last week and a half, which would be very on brand for this season, Brad. Like when they are truly dead, they go on like their best winning stretch of the year. More likely than not, Braves will have either the 4th or 5th best odds and getting the number 1 pick in the lottery. Again, it's a lottery system, so it's not like they're locked into any pick by any means. And I don't think anyone should lose sleep the difference between picking 4th or picking 6th or even picking 1 or 2 in the MLB draft is generally not something that's going to dramatically sway the future of a team. Of course, we'd rather have the highest pick possible, get the most money possible for the later rounds, but something to keep an eye on this last 10 days of the year that frankly, I don't think anybody in Braves country had as a possibility back in March and April.
For sure. And I mean, you said it, there is a scenario where the Braves keep winning and they could get as low as like 7th in the lottery odds if they kept winning. Like they're only 2 games ahead of or behind, however you want to put that, the 7 seed in the lottery right now with where the Orioles are, because the Braves look, and this is I was going to get to this in a second. We'll just do it now as part of this. Today was the 70th win of the year for the Braves. Obviously not where they wanted to be, but we were talking 6 weeks ago probably about 100 losses being like possible, which is crazy. But that's where the vibes were in early August. Like they were on pace for a roughly 100 loss season. And since then, like they were 48-67. I think it was like August 8th. They were 19 games under 500.
Yeah.
Since then, they are 22-16, which is, again, to use the on-brand word, probably too much. It is on brand to have the season be totally dead, and then suddenly the Braves go 22-16 over a 6-week span, which isn't like on fire, but that's kind of the pace you were supposed to be at in the first place. And like 22-16 is a 58% winning percentage. That's like a playoff level team. It's not an elite team, but it's a playoff level team. And it is kind of funny, but also at least some of the maybe 5 years from now, 10 years from now, we look back at Baseball Reference and we're like, hey, the Braves were pretty rough in 2025, but they were not like 100 loss rough. Like maybe that would be a little bit of a sanctuary for us in the future to say like they weren't as bad as like it seemed like it might be for a while, because it actually was like on pace for disaster. They might win 75. They might win more than that. I mean, that's on one hand, I almost think it's misleading because the season was probably worse than that. But they're at 70 now. They have 70 wins.
Well, and I know that run differential is not scientific. I know it is not the end all be all, but it's the general name of the game, isn't it, Brad? Score runs and don't give up runs and score more runs than your opponent. And we know how terrible the Braves have been this year in one-run games. God knows they have given away so many games. We could probably do a 2-hour podcast on like the worst, most frustrating losses of the year. But just for a little context, you mentioned this team. They have 70 wins, probably going to end 75, 76. Not bad by any means, below 500. But the Atlanta Braves have a negative 25 run differential, and they are 70-83. The Cleveland Guardians in the American League also have a negative 25 run differential, and they are 80-71.
11 game difference in the standings.
If the Braves, with the same run differential as the Guardians, had the same record as the Guardians, the Braves would have a 2-game lead on the New York Mets for the final wild card spot. And that tells you everything you need to know about this season.
It's baseball.
And I think you have to say, kind of like 2 years ago where the Padres had the season from hell and they went like 10-40 in one-run games. But what have the Padres done since then? They've been top 5, almost went to the World Series last year. I mean, they've been as good as anyone. And I think if you're trying to be optimistic with the Braves, you say, yes, this season was terrible. The team sucked. They had injuries everywhere. They could not win a close ball game for 5 months. But I think you can tell yourself a story of, hey, maybe it's going to balance out next year. The ball is going to bounce their way. And God willing, the Braves are going to be back where they want to be with 90-plus wins and competing for an NL East and then a World Series.
For sure. And, you can't – it is fun. There's a bit of funny synergy with the Guardians having the same run differential. They've gotten very, very lucky, and the Braves have gotten very unlucky. And, like, the middle ground is the Braves, with this run differential, they probably should have, like, 75 wins right now, which still would have been way below where they were supposed to be. It would have been a bad season, but they'd be like, it's 5 more wins. They're 5 games below that.
According to their run differential, their expected win-loss is 74-79.
Yeah, and that's more like what they've been. But yeah, I'm double checking to make sure this is still true, and I believe it still is. Only one team in the major leagues has a worse winning percentage in one-run games, and it's the White Sox. And the White Sox are horrendous. Yeah. So they're not as bad as the Rockies, who, by the way, have a literally historically bad profile this year. But the Braves have gotten they've been both frustrating and unlucky. Underperforming and unlucky, whatever way you want to put it. It's been that kind of season. So anyway, they are getting hot now for no reason, but it's been still kind of enjoyable to watch some positive, and there have been some legitimately positive signs over the last week or so. We'll get into the game today in a moment. First, though, Scott, a word from our friends at DraftKings and our player spotlight segment on today's show. We're sponsored today by the folks at DraftKings and the Pick 6 app, the official daily fantasy partner of the NFL, and that is DraftKings. And we'll focus today in our player spotlight on newly acquired shortstop Ha-Seong Kim. We will not do the whole Ha-Seong Kim will they or won't they that we did that yesterday. We will do it a lot over the next several weeks. But I wanted to spotlight that he's been really good on the field, briefly, on this discussion. He has a 5-game hitting streak, which isn't crazy, but he has reached base in 13 of his last 24 plate appearances. And if you're good at math, that's more than half the time. That's generally good, Scott. And I wonder what you think of the Ha-Seong Kim experience, because the numbers since he got to the Braves look like the Braves would hope they looked.
So it's been kind of an interesting run for Ha-Seong Kim. He started out very well, and then he was pretty bad for like 2 weeks. I think I tweeted over the weekend that he had like a 70 WRC plus with the Braves. And since then, he's been fantastic. And those numbers are way better than what they were before. And, just a little note I picked up from David O'Brien. He said that Ha-Seong Kim has also just blended in really nicely with the clubhouse, which is good to hear. I think Ha-Seong Kim either said out loud or someone reported that he really didn't feel super comfortable in Tampa Bay with the Rays. Not that there's anything bad going on there, but he just didn't vibe with the clubhouse. And I think that's the thing that, frankly, as fans and as podcasters, we don't get to see a ton of, because we're not in the clubhouse. We're not on the team plane. We're not on the bus. We're not at the hotel. But, all good things from Ha-Seong Kim. About 6 weeks from now, Brad, I guess we'll have definitive clarity on his player option. I still think there's a chance the Braves work out some kind of an extension before that. But up until then, I think Kim has shown he's healthy, which is the big hurdle. That was something that really kept him down for the better part of this season. And he's shown that why he can be a valuable contributing shortstop. I guess we just kind of have to hold our breath and hope he doesn't go too hot over these last 10 games, or then he might be a little more tempted to test the market.
Yeah, a 125 WRC plus with the Braves, a 390 on base percentage. Glove looks good. He's a good baseball player. I think that's just the broad strokes of things. And you mentioned the clubhouse fit. Like, he and Jurickson Profar have a long-standing relationship. They're close friends. That probably helps things for everybody involved. So just want to spotlight that. Kim has been good, showing the promise that might lead to some excitement about the Braves if he's on the roster, and it's still an if at this point in time. But we'll cover that quite a bit more later on this season. Now, Scott, we will talk about some pick 6 options for the weekend. And in fact, for the Thursday night game in the NFL is where we'll go today with pick 6. Dealer's choice, Scott. You want to go first or me with our picks for pick 6 this week?
You go ahead, Brad. This is your realm.
Okay. I am going to take, and if you're watching on YouTube, you can see this shown on the screen. I am going to take the more than 0.5 touchdowns scored for James Cook, the Bills running back, because when you include the playoffs, he's scored in 8 of the last 9 games. That's pretty good. Also facing a Dolphins defense that's not exactly inspiring. So that's my half of this. Scott, where are you going with your pick 6 selection on Thursday?
So as we all know, this is a pro Coleman podcast.
Yes, it is.
So I'm going to go more than 43.5 receiving yards for Keon Coleman, my fellow Coleman, Sean Coleman's brother from another mother. We'll go more than 43.5 receiving yards for Keon Coleman on Thursday night. Should be a lot of points scored from both teams, and hopefully a good game. Well, I think especially with the Braves off on Thursday, it'd be nice to have something entertaining to watch.
This season, play your player instincts. Download the DraftKings Pick 6 app now and use code FOUL. That's code FOUL. Play just $5. Get $50 in Pick 6 bonus picks. Make the call. Ride the upside. In partnership with DraftKings Pick 6. The crown is yours.
Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. Help is available for problem gambling. Call 888-789-7777 or visit ccpg.org in Connecticut. Must be 18 and over. Age and eligibility restrictions vary by jurisdiction. Pick 6 not available everywhere, including New York and Ontario. Void where prohibited. 1 per new customer. Bonus awarded as non-withdrawable Pick 6 bonus picks that expire in 14 days. Limited time offer. See terms at pick6.draftkings.com/promos.
All right, Scott, let's briefly discuss the game on Wednesday, because it's the only game that's happened between podcasts. Again, one more plug for the show on Tuesdays. Steven and I talked about 3 games because there was a doubleheader on Tuesday. We covered that. If you missed anything, dive into that podcast. The Braves trailed 3-0 on Wednesday afternoon in the series finale. They won the game 9-4. So things flipped in their direction. We'll talk about Hurston Waldrip in a second. I'm obligated to do this because we talked about Matt Olson last night, but Matt Olson continued to be ridiculous. He homered again today. That's his 5th in 6 games. His OPS in that time, Scott, is like 1,600. He's been the best player in baseball this week.
This month. I mean, Matt Olson's going to be National League Player of the Month, I think.
I mean, if he stays hot, for sure. Like if the award was given out on September 17th, I believe he would win it going away. I think he's leading the National League in home runs this month, all those things. But we'll do the whole deep dive again from yesterday. But Matt Olson stayed hot with our homework today.
Yeah, I mean, we've seen over the last 4 years, Matt Olson's hot streaks can carry a team, and he's just so locked in right now. And kind of I don't even know the right word, but Matt got off to a great start and then cooled down a bit and then has been out of his mind for the last couple of weeks. And his season-long numbers, this is clearly his second best year with the Braves now. He will never touch 2023 because that was just an unbelievable year, 100th percentile. Everything went right for Matt that year. Baseballs were different, but really just a really good baseball player. Like definitively we can say that. Not that there was ever any doubt or question about that when the Braves traded for Matt Olson, but just a really, really damn good first baseman for this team. In some years, Matt would have won MVP back in 2023 if it wasn't for his teammate and a couple other players in the National League. He might even get some down ballot votes for MVP in the National League this year. I'm not saying he's going to get top 3 or top 5, but how many they vote up to 10 players, I think. So Matt might get some, 8th, 9th, 10th place, certainly deserving. And again, just a really good ball player, good offense, good defense, zero drama, goes out there literally every single day. It's just all good things for Matt Olson. A really nice season.
We've been chronicling the first base discourse, mostly on social media, to be honest, but he is comfortably leading all MLB first basemen now in Fangraphs WAR. Actually, the guy who's closest to him, I think, is either Vlad Guerrero or the rookie Kurtz, who doesn't even qualify yet for the A. He's been ridiculous. But the National League, it's Matt Olson by a decent amount. And to your MVP point, he is currently in the top 10 in Fangraphs WAR of National League players. And at first base, it's kind of hard to do because there's a penalty with F4 with positional stuff. Fortunately, his defense is really good, which helps him kind of negate that a little bit. But awesome season. And when we say that out loud for another home run today. In fact, it was a good day at the office offensively for like most of the roster. They had 6 guys have multi-hit games on Wednesday afternoon. That's actually hard to do in the same game. Just to name them quickly. Olson, Acuna, Baldwin, Kim, Ozuna, and Nacho Alvarez with a multi-hit game today.
Well, and they were shut out early. Like they couldn't get anything going early on.
They were down 3-0 after what I think it was like they didn't score until the 6th inning, 5th inning.
Yeah.
One of those. Yeah, it was a weird game. It was all in bunches, but they did score again 30 plus runs in the series, but they didn't scratch till the 6th inning today. And you still had a game where you have all those guys. Nobody went like nuclear on their own. I mean, Ozuna had a good game again. Kim, which we talked about earlier. Baldwin, we did the segment last night. Cade Horton versus Drake Baldwin is not going super well in the betting odds right now for Drake. I believe as of right now, at least as of earlier today, it's actually even a bigger gap. Baldwin had a good game today. Horton is now minus 310 at DraftKings as we were recording this. So that's not the end all be all. I think markets are smart on this stuff, but also it's a panel of 30 voters. So this is not like the NBA voting where like there's 100 people and it's really easy to get a sample. You don't even know who has a vote until pretty late in this process. So like there are more surprises in MLB awards. So don't give up hope, everybody. But Baldwin might be in a little bit of trouble, but he had a good game today. So all I can ask for is just keep stacking good games for Drake, and hopefully by the end of the year it swings his way.
Yeah, really nice series. We talked on the Sunday show, Brad, you and I, that Drake had kind of fallen on hard times for 2 weeks. And I mean, he's human, just like anybody else. He's going to have a bad stretch, but really nice to see Drake pick it up and have some of his best games in a while or I guess up in Washington. Just such an impressive hitter, rookie of the year or not.
Oh yeah.
What a freaking rookie year. Right.
Regardless of whether he gets it or not, he's going to have an OPS around 800 probably by the end of the season as a catcher who's at least a pretty good defender, not an elite one, but certainly is totally fine there. And as you said, the last couple of days, he had 3 hits Monday. He had the pinch hit double on Tuesday and then 2 hits today. So a good little stretch to bounce back from that cold streak for Drake. The other headliner was Hurston Waldrip, who pitched on Wednesday afternoon after his worst outing of the year on Friday. He pitched quite well today. It was 4 scoreless innings, and then the 5th inning got away from him a little bit, gave up 3 doubles in the inning, but still ended up with 5 innings, 3 runs, 5 hits, 8 strikeouts, and importantly for me, 0 walks.
Yeah.
Love to see that.
Yeah, that's very much the thing you kind of circle and underline and bold and do whatever. No walks for Hurston Waldrip today. Really good sign. I know he's facing the Nationals. I know there were like 300 people in the stands today. It was, not necessarily a great environment, but credit to Hurston, bounced back nicely. Not that anyone, I think, had real concerns. The Astros are a good team. You were there. Steven was there. You talked about just some of the bad luck and misfortune that Hurston had, but really encouraging. A ton of swing and miss, a lot of strikeouts today. And other than that 5th inning, he was pretty much in control the whole way.
Yeah, and he still got unlucky with BABIP. Like I think the BABIP allow was like 420 in the game. Like he pitched well today. I was encouraged by that. Nice little bounce back, and the season-long numbers look good. ERA of 3-ish, FIP of 3.2 or so looks fine. And I mentioned the walks. Like I always care about walks, but he had 11 walks in his previous 15 innings, so I was getting a little worried about his command. And then, hey, you close down that talk real fast if you don't walk anybody, and he didn't today. So
yeah, especially for a pitcher who the command was like the thing for Hurston.
Mm-hmm.
Like, can he not only throw enough strikes, but throw effective strikes, establish his fastball, get hitters off like that? That's not a small thing for a guy who had some real command and control questions coming up through the minor leagues.
No, absolutely. He, again, we talked about it last night, but even in response to that, people were asking, maybe, I don't know if accusing is the right word, like, people think that we're too low on him. That's fine. I thought we were pretty complimentary of him last night. It wasn't like we're saying he's not a factor. He definitely is. It's just more that we got to see more. And there's a gap for me. And there's a show we'll probably do relatively soon about the state of the rotation for 2026 in probably deeper dive fashion. But he is part of the mix, like without question. Like it should surprise no one if he makes a start in the first week of next season.
Oh, yeah.
Which is a huge credit to him. Again, like the rise of Waldrop in the last 2 months is rather crazy. From people have probably forgotten about this by now. The guy literally had to drive himself to Bristol to make an unsanctioned, unplanned. It wasn't even a start. It was actually a relief, quote unquote, a relief appearance because they had started that game and had to restart it. But that was the start of the year for Waldrop at the major league level, and all positives from there. So encouraging today.
I mean, just not today and the last however long since that start against the Reds in Bristol. It's just been such a whirlwind for Waldrop, and he was someone a few months ago. I know you and Steven talked about it, but it's like, is this guy a reliever? Like, is it? Before he made those adjustments early this season in Gwinnett, I mean, it was looking like that. And that was always something that was maybe in Hurston's profile as a prospect because he did not have a ton of great secondary offerings. But he has come so far in 6 months. A credit to him for changing his approach and changing how he pitches on the mound. And I think I have been burned, and we've all been burned by young starting pitchers, often because of injury. Soroka, this past season, AJ Smith-Shawver, Kyle Wright, I can go down the list, Sean Newcomb. Like, we've seen young, talented pitchers come up and really flash and really pitch well. And then whether from injury or just baseball really being really difficult and getting out major leaguers being really difficult, it doesn't always work out that way or the way that we thought it was going to be. So I think guarded optimism is how I'm going into the offseason with Waldrop. If I had to bet, I would guess he's in the opening day rotation and will be fine there. Ideally, he's more of like the 5th starter because 1, God knows somebody's going to get hurt. And 2, then you're not necessarily counting on him in his first full major league season to be like the guy. Ideally, you want him to be behind a healthy Sale, Schwellenbach, Strider, add someone in free agency, Lopez, Holmes, like you name it. We need to have an abundance of riches and be greedy this offseason other than crossing our fingers and praying that they can navigate 6 months with a thin rotation.
Yeah, pitching is very volatile for injury reasons, also for performance reasons for young pitchers. Like guys come up, they flash, and then the league figures them out, and occasionally that doesn't rectify itself. Like, Bryce Harper was an all-star. That's a go-to example. Like Mike Fultonevich is another one where he had one like truly awesome season, and that was essentially it for Mike Fultonevich. And it wasn't, so injuries, adjustments, all those things. But
even like flashes in the pan, Touki Toussaint would flash.
Sure.
Remember Luis Gahara? Like that dude had an all-time September, and I was like, holy, the Braves have an ace.
I was gonna say he was one. You just named two of my guys that did not work out. I was maybe they scarred me for life on prospects. I mean, I'm famously anti-prospect, generally speaking, but it's probably because Touki was like always my guy. Like when we used to do prospects, and it didn't work for Touki.
That curveball, man. That curveball. I remember I was in Atlanta, my one and only trip to Truist Park against the Cardinals, and Touki threw the most absurd curveball I have ever seen to strike out then St. Louis Cardinal Marcell Ozuna. Ozuna was laughing going back to the dugout because, like, what are you supposed to do?
Like, what is that?
Touki was my guy too. I love Touki. That's just a bummer. He's still floating around somewhere.
He's still making appearances in the majors,
or maybe in the minors. Yeah.
So anyway, that's today's segment on the game. Again, if you want more on the rest of the series, check out the show from yesterday. But 5 games in a row, they're suddenly red hot. Scott, we'll get into some news and a bit of a look ahead to the weekend in Detroit after a word from our partners.
Hey, if you're a card collector or you're looking to collect, buy, sell, trade, Arena Club's the spot. And I'm going to tell you why. Because the old process, AJ, was very clunky. Buy a box, rip the pack, tons of commons, send it in for grading. And then finally, you get everything back. This is weeks and weeks, and you can start to try and sell the card. We have eliminated that with Arena Club, or they have. I act like I'm part of it. But in really one step.
Arena's your one-stop shop for everything. You get a card, you open a slab pack, the card is there, it's graded, it spins around coolly, shows you 3D, the front, the back, you can look at the corners, you can look at everything, and then you get a decision. Do I want to keep it? Do I want to sell it? Do I want to trade it? It gives you an instant offer. You can buy it back and re-rip another slab pack and try for something else, or you can keep it and hope the value goes up and sell it at a later date. It is truly the best spot to get cards.
20% off your first slab pack or card purchase can be had right now at arenaclub.com/FOUL and use code FOUL.
All right, Scott, not a ton of news, but there is one roster move that happened on Wednesday, and it was kind of injury related, but kind of process related. So anyway, the Braves placed Jake Fraley on the 60-day IL today. He was already injured. We thought he might not come back this season. He won't come back to the season. It was reported, I think it was by DOB. It's not a serious injury, but this late in the year, there's no really reason not to put him on the 60-day if you wanted to create a spot. And they did that to make room for Carson Ragsdale, who the Braves claimed off of waivers from the Orioles. He was set to go net right away. So like that alone makes this more of a fringy ad. But a 27-year-old right-hander, mostly a starter in the minors with the Giants and the Orioles, has pitched 3 times in the majors, so like not a huge sample size. We don't really know. This could be a like they see something. This could be a like why not? We don't really know. There's a reason we're waiting until now to talk about this. It's not a huge deal, but because the hook was also Fraley, who we'll talk about in a second. But Ragsdale is just like a guy, and we've been saying take shots, like acquire guys, get a look at him. No reason not to, and he's another one to add to the list because as we discussed yesterday, the Braves have had 18 guys make starts this season. Maybe he becomes 19 at some point next week or something.
He might. Truly.
Yeah,
I mean, he might.
He might.
20 starters by the end of the year. Carson Ragsdale. My only take, I would love to be in a front office, like just to be a fly on the wall in a front office for a couple of days and just see the process of like one of Alex's lieutenants being like, Alex, Carson Ragsdale, let's grab this guy. Let's see what he can do. Let's invite him to spring training.
He's on waivers. Let's take a look.
Like the database and stuff they have, not just the Braves, every team. It would just be fascinating to look over someone's shoulder for a couple of days and see how they operate and why on earth do they like Carson Ragsdale? It must be something. I mean, it's probably nothing special, but it's like, hey, let's get the guy. And it's not just this pickup; it's any other pickup they do. It is such a funny, fascinating game with just so many players being available at every day, with waivers being every day, and 40-man rosters and active rosters and DFAs and all that stuff. It would just be an interesting, So, Alex, I know you listen to all of our shows, listen to all of our opinions. Please, I would love to come by and see how you run the show.
I think it's quite clear at this point he does not listen or take our opinions into account in any way. But hey, we can dream. I would listen. I would. How do I say this? I would surmise with some education that someone in the front office has heard our podcast. I'm pretty sure that's happened from what I can glean from behind the scenes. Not Alex, though, to be very clear. Speaking of Jake Fraley, quickly, it's a straight oblique, so that's not great, but it's not a long-term thing. I feel like we should just talk about Fraley for the last time this season because he's going to be gone now. But he's under team control for next year. Like, he could be a non-tender candidate. I'm not saying the Braves are definitely going to keep him, but he could be on the team next year at a relatively modest cost. Yeah. And if people didn't realize this or haven't been paying close attention as they have recently, I totally get that. But Fraley's claim to fame and his real role in the majors is that he mashes right-handed pitching. That is what he does. That's what he's done for his entire career. Last 5 seasons in the majors, more than 1,200 plate appearances. He has a 115 WRC plus against righties. So, like, he's a corner outfielder who can hit righties. And that isn't a sexy skill set, but it is a useful one, particularly for a bench bat. And, with the DH, you don't have to have – it helps to have versatility. Like, you want your Eli Whites, you want your Nick Allens. I get it. You want backup catcher. But there is a spot on the bench for a pinch hitter or a platoon guy in a corner outfield spot. And Fraley can be that. He takes walks. Like, he's actually – when they claimed him, he was another guy they claimed on waivers. And it was, like, not nearly to the Ha-Seong Kim level, but it was like, whoa, Jake Fraley was available, like, for free. They just got to claim Jake Fraley. Like, he's a real major leaguer is what I'm saying. He's not Carson Ragsdale. With due respect to Carson Ragsdale, Jake Fraley was like, oh, like, that makes sense that he'd be on a good team. Like, he's a real player, which is we're keeping in mind.
Yeah, and really the decision will be, do they want to tender him a contract?
Yep.
This past season, Jake Fraley made $3.125 million. So just
which
north,
is bench bat money.
Yes. So probably $4 million in ARB if the Braves want to keep Fraley around. That's probably something I would really have to think about. I don't know.
Yeah, it's on the margins for sure. It's not a clear decision, but
yeah. Especially this early in the offseason. Like, I don't think you're going to have 20 teams lining up and calling Jake Fraley if they decide to non-tender him. Maybe you could bring him back later in the offseason for $1 million, $2 million, save yourself a little bit, especially if we're hopeful, and maybe it's foolish hope, but hopeful the Braves are going to spend some real money this year or this offseason to move the needle a little bit more. But yeah, Jake Fraley, if he's on the team next year, I could totally see it. He's a valuable player. He has a very set skill set. And God knows this team can't keep an outfield healthy. So he'd probably play at some point. He'd probably be in there.
It does. We will do, of course, a deeper preview on the tender / non-tender candidates when we get there in a couple weeks. But he is one where it's not clear. It's not an auto yes. It's not an auto no. But they do have control over him if they want to. And we will talk about him again now for a couple weeks, I'd imagine, because he's out of sight, out of mind for a little while. Last thing before we get out of here, Scott, the Braves have their final road series of the season this weekend. They have a day off on Thursday after a busy week with 4 games in 3 days. But they play starting Friday in Detroit. They have announced, I'm going to double check now to make sure that nothing's changed. It's Bryce Elder on Friday, Joey Wentz on Saturday, and Spencer Strider on Sunday. The Tigers have a lot to play for. Not they're going to win the division, so it doesn't have that much to play for. But this is a playoff level team that's still going to be trying. I would imagine they're going to the playoffs, etc. So a little spoiler opportunity, a little evaluation of pitching. Not the biggest thing in the world, but this is it for the road this year. And Detroit is a fun team, so a little bit of maybe some extra casual interest because they're actually playing a good team.
The Braves will not see Tarek Skubal, which is kind of a bummer. I mean, that guy's incredible. Skubal is scheduled to pitch on Thursday. I guess if it rained or something, that could change. But no Skubal, but the Tigers, good team. They were incredible in the first half of the year. They've cooled off a bit. They got off to a really bad start after the All-Star break. but good team. I mean, me personally, I'm going to be rooting for the Tigers in the playoffs. That means not, historically a team that has not won a ton in recent years and not a huge payroll. They're a younger team. They're a fun team. They really kind of came on like gangbusters a year ago, and they rolled that into 2025 and have continued to be good. So good team. I don't know if it's the final home series of the year for the Tigers, but you can imagine that ballpark will be filled and energized and everything. And maybe the Braves can be spoiler. That'd be cool. And if they can't, then guess what? They just, in the Tankathon power rankings, they're going to move up a little bit if they lose a couple of games this weekend.
Yeah, and it is. I just checked. It is their last home series, so that place will be rocking, I'm sure. Weekend. Also, Saturday's game. Sunday, we're all used to being really early. Saturday's game is a 1:10 p.m. Eastern time start, so a couple really early games. We'll see how that goes. But by the way, I'll just reveal this. People know that I am. Not everyone knows this, but I'm a University of Michigan fan. I inherited that from my father, and I say that because my dad also grew up a Tigers fan. So I'm not a Tigers fan, but like if I were to have a second team, it would be the Tigers, and I'll be rooting for them as well. So I hope they win this weekend. I'm kind of agnostic as to the results, to be honest. But in the playoffs, I might jump on the bandwagon and hopefully they make a run. It'd be fun to see that, and I have family that's invested in the Tigers. So,
boy, what kind of money could you have made, Brad? I'm looking at the standings here. If you parlayed the Toronto Blue Jays, the Detroit Tigers, and the Seattle Mariners winning the 3 divisions in the American League. I mean, I guess.
Yeah, Seattle might not win still because I think they're tied with Houston right now. So that one's
it's
more
right.
Like
yeah.
But the other two, Toronto was not the favorite in the East, of course. The Yankees were, I believe. The Tigers were maybe because the Central is such a mess. That wasn't like a huge upset that the Tigers would win the Central, but they weren't the favorite, I don't think, coming into the season. So you get some long odds. Our friends at DraftKings would have probably taken that action from you and been unfortunately sad when you won. But yeah, interesting enough. We'll be following baseball. I'm not going to do a ton of that right now, non-Braves talk. But when playoffs arrive, we'll be watching. So we'll probably mention it at times. So
yep, I think that's kind of our roadmap. Not to put the cart before the horse, but in October, I think we'll do some playoff baseball talk and then also just preview the offseason because I mean this is a really important offseason for the Braves. We will timestamp this. It's just before midnight on Wednesday evening. We still have no announcement of any kind on Brian Snitker.
I wasn't going to bring it up on today's show stuff, but you did it for me. It's okay. We'll keep the streak alive. We still don't know. And by the way, if there was a time, you would imagine if they thought about this and coordinated it, you'd want it out there before they come home. Because it could be Brian Snitker week next week at Truist Park.
Yeah.
If they were going to do it, you probably want to get that out there before Monday when they're playing again at home. So couple more days. If that happens, by the way, if we get news, that will be an emergency level reaction from us. We will have at least one more show between now and Sunday, I think, is the plan, and then we'll have our usual Sunday show. But yeah, it's a thing to keep on the radar for sure. Other than, I mean, the odd waiver claim, your Carson Ragsdale's, that's clearly the news hook the next few days, probably. Knock on wood on injury stuff, of course. But yeah, Snit's status is an everyday. People ask us, and we don't have an answer for you, and we'll see how that goes. I'm sure it'll get more attention when they come home because that's just what happens. You get larger media pools, you get the local TV folks that have less inhibitions with what they ask is the way that I'll put that because they don't have to deal with Snit every day. It'll become more of a circus as the week goes along next week. So we'll see.
We'll see. Yeah, I was gonna say an interesting last week and a half of the season for the Braves.
Absolutely. All right, Scott, let us get out of here in a reasonable time by our standards. Folks can find you on social media rooting on your Indianapolis Colts at Scott Coleman 55. Is that correct?
That is the one. Yes, lots of football takes, lots of college basketball starts in like a month, Brad. I'm pumped.
I'm just really following along with your Seinfeld, your Seinfeld. I almost rewatch Seinfeld watch because you're so young. Like this is where I'm not that much older than you, but this is like affirmed to me the age gap between you and I. Like Seinfeld was unavoidable when I was a certain age, and I am a little bit older than you, and I think that you were able to miss it because of that age gap.
That, and I actually asked my mom, and they were not fans. Like my parents didn't really watch Seinfeld, so there was like they were more like Everybody Loves Raymond was always on, Cheers was always on. We should do like a '90s, '80s, '90s sitcom show sometime. No one's listening anyway.
That might be an October topic at this rate. So we've been churning through our off-season content in August and September, so we might be out of stuff to talk about.
I do enjoy Seinfeld, and there's also now the unintentional like nostalgia of like the 80s and 90s and payphones and just I don't know, a simpler time in life, Brad.
So yeah, follow along with Scott on his Seinfeld journey, but also for his baseball takes. Follow me if you'd like to at BT Rowland. Follow the show at Hammer Territory on X/Twitter. We are on Instagram, Facebook, etc. But I would say more importantly than all of that, please subscribe to the Hammer Territory podcast. Listen to the show, watch the show, leave comments, leave ratings and reviews, and help us to spread the word. If you enjoy the pod, sincerely, thank you, number one. Number two, tell a friend. I know you have Braves fan friends. Everyone does. I have friends that don't listen to the show. It bothers me. Like, guys, you're friends of mine. Let's listen to the show.
End that friendship now, Brad.
Come
You're going
on.
to text them all and say, subscribe or I'm no longer your friend.
Subscribe.
Don't do that.
Kidding. I'm not going to do that. But anyway, thank you to everyone for listening to the podcast. We'll have more coming up later on this week, and we'll see everybody next time.